Welcome to Corrective Consciousness, episode 17. I'm your host, VyseTheBold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And I'm PyroJackFrost.
And we are, all three of us, pretty burnt out from last night. What do you think, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be the first point of discussion, I'm sure.
Yeah, so just to let everybody know, we usually don't have too many nights like this, but the three of us all met up at a party. First of all, the three of us don't get together all that often anymore in the flesh.
Yeah, but one of our New York friends was having a Halloween party, and so
Yeah.
that was a good time to meet up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And as many of you guys know, Lotus and I live in New Jersey. I live about an hour south of Lotus, and Pyro lives in Queens, not too far from where the party was.
Oh no, now I'm gonna get all this hate mail or fans coming to my door.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, they're gonna knock on every door in Queens.
Knock, knock.
PyroJackFrost?
No. Damn. Knock, knock. Pyro? No. Damn.
But we had a bit of a costume party. You went as something interesting. I thought, Pyro. I thought yours was a really good. What you used to make it work was really effective. I thought it was cool.
Well, it's part of that working with what you have. So the week before the party, or 2 weeks before the party, my girlfriend's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go as Umbreon, and our two friends we're gonna go as Venusaur and Jigglypuff." And I'm like, "Oh, I should do a Pokemon too, but I don't have a lot of time to prepare." So I was in the need for a new jacket, so I bought a new brown jacket that actually is really nice but fit. I borrowed a white scarf from a friend and a brown tail, and I wore my brown shoes. And then all I really had to do is make myself a pair of ears, and I went as Eevee. But it's not just Eevee; it's if a deviant artist.
Yeah, it's
decided
like
to
when you
draw
Google your
Eevee
own
as
name.
a human.
Yeah,
Anthropomorphic.
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, yours look good. I mean, the scarf that you were wearing for the white part of the coat of Eevee's coat was actually a really nice touch. I thought it was really cool.
And yours was a clever one too for a last minute sort of costume too.
Yeah, you know what? And it's kind of a joke on my normal appearance. It's not all that different, which was kind of the joke. So this year, anybody who's ever seen me professionally always sees me in a suit. I hardly ever show up to work otherwise, and it's not a requirement of my job. Most of my work is done over the phone. However, it's one of those things that is psychological on my end. It keeps me professional and in the right mindset to keep working and working hard. And I just think it's also one of those things that you wear. You look like you try to look the way that you want. Dress for the job you want, that kind of thing. So I eventually want to go into management someday. So I try to dress professionally. Let's just put it that way. And so I'm always in a suit. And a lot of my friends always see me in a suit because I'm usually coming home from work. So I'm hardly ever in street clothes. And when I am, I'm usually in pretty nice street clothes. But so what I did was I thought to myself, well, since I'm already in a suit, who else is already in a suit? Well, Clark Kent. So what I did was I have a blue suit, luckily, so I could keep going with the red, white, and blue motif. I have a red tie with blue and white accents on it. It's a paisley one. And a white shirt, and I got a Superman T-shirt to have underneath it and unbuttoned it. And there you go. I also wore my glasses. I've gotten in the habit of wearing my contacts in the last year or so, but I do have glasses that look like Clark Kent, and my hair can do the Clark Kent thing with the curl in the front. So I looked pretty convincing and did all right. So people knew exactly who I was. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was
but
clever.
man, you guys can stay up late. I cannot stay up late like you can.
I wanted to go to bed.
I was
just
starting to
did.
tire out at 1.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was really dragging by around 1 o'clock, and that is really late for me these days. And just to give people a an idea of my history with staying up late, I used to be a very much a night owl. Like I used to, like during college, I used to go to bed at like 5 o'clock and wake up at like 2 all the time. Because I would schedule my classes so I could do that. So like I would just be getting going at like midnight, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And even back in high school, I kind of had a hard time sleeping. So nowadays I have no problem sleeping. I don't get as much sleep as I should because I'm busy, not because I can't sleep. But I generally fall asleep around like midnight or so. With the podcast being one of the podcast nights being the only exception usually. Even on days off and nights off, I have a hard time getting past 12.
And
just
honestly,
because of work.
Well, honestly, that's probably a good thing because I don't have a problem. We're like, oh, now's my chance. I'll stay up late, and then it makes it all the harder to get up early the next day when I have to do that.
And you end up wasting a day off too. Like I found that I've done the switch to like the old person mentality that if I get up early on a day off, I can get a lot done.
Yeah.
Or I can run my errands, or I can do things during the day that I wouldn't be able to do at night, or just take care of my shit. So It's definitely sucked me in. It's one of those things you never thought this would happen to you, but
we're getting old.
Yeah, it's one of those things of taking responsibility. I have a job that, like, if I don't go to sleep on time, I'm just gonna feel like crap. It's gonna take a lot out of me, and I have to be on. I'm a salesperson, so I have to be in a good frame of mind in order to be a good salesperson. So, you can hear it in my voice if I'm tired. So, unless I fake it well, and you can only do that for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back to what you're talking about your costume, I thought it was funny with my costume, because it was kind of a unique spin, I guess. Not really unique, but a different spin on the Pokemon costume thing. It was funny how the people who got it were people who played, and anyone who didn't play had no idea. Like, absolutely no idea.
I got it right away, but I'm not a big Pokemon fan, but I know who Eevee is, and I also know that Eevee's your favorite.
Yeah,
that
just
your
favorite Pokemon.
Like, that just didn't occur to me because I only played the original Pokemon as well. But like once you showed me the picture of Eevee, like I forgot it had that fluff around the neck. So like all I saw was a guy wearing like the brown kind of like bomber looking jacket with like the scarf. I was like, Fox McCloud, like maybe a little bit.
Also, it goes without saying that I have to talk about the frustrating traffic experience that Lotus and I had on the way there. So, I made the big mistake of just taking the GPS's directions for granted, because in most situations you could do that. However, it's not well suited for big cities, particularly New York. So it's like, okay, well, I didn't realize it was going to take us through the heart of Manhattan to get to Long Island, where Queens is. I had no idea it was going to do that. And lo and behold, first of all, traffic sucks in New York to begin with. But
most definitely.
But it was a particularly bad time because they're renovating the Midtown Tunnel entrance, and we didn't know where we were supposed to get on, you know what I mean, like, because the major entrance to Midtown
that was the thing. Yeah, I was gonna get to that. We were navigating the city, and the first part where you were supposed to turn off, the road was closed, and that's annoying. But the good news about New York is that it's a giant grid, so it's like, all right, fine, just take the next available turn.
It was blocked in 3 places that we
there were multiple different roads that were blocked, and when we finally get to the Midtown Tunnel entrance, it's like, well, that can't be blocked, it's the Midtown Tunnel. But no, sure enough, that the main entrance was blocked too. And
wow,
there were detour signs, but they were a little hard to see, maybe because it was at night, but they were not as well marked as they could have been. Like, we had to listen to some police officer just like shouting to everybody who wanted to know the same thing, like, go down that way.
And it was counterintuitive. We actually had to move away from the tunnel.
Well,
the opposite direction.
Yeah, the scariest thing was, and yes, this was supposed to happen.
Is funny.
Yeah, the way to go was actually into the exit of the Midtown Tunnel. So like you see the arrows. Like, you know how sometimes there are arrows on the street that say like, oh, left turn only or straight only. So we're driving over those that are like pointing toward us. And
we were
it just
going
feels
in the
really
outdoor.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. And with cars, that's
like
no bueno.
Even though we're clearly following other cars doing the same thing, I still felt nervous. It's like, is this right? Are you sure? You know, it's like if you go driving around in Europe, it's like the right side of the road is the way to drive.
Yeah.
Like it just feels so weird when you've done it the other way your entire life.
Yeah, and it is just particularly frustrating because, like, every time you have to double around in New York, first of all, to move, like, 2 feet, you have to wait 10 minutes.
Well, yeah, because it's a grid, traffic lights, traffic lights, traffic lights, traffic lights. It's like, oh my god, like, you can't get anything done in a reasonable period of time. Yeah,
how dense the traffic is, too, is just, ugh. But we got through it, and we had a good time. At least I did. We even played a little bit of Street Fighter V, and we played some of the new King of Fighters, Game 14. And I had fun doing that, actually. I had fun playing those.
I played for a little bit, but like extremely casually. I get a lot more pleasure out of watching those.
Oh, sure.
I was never like a fighting game guy or like a shooter guy. It's like I'll watch someone good play those and get my entertainment that way.
Mr. Ryu 45 had a really nice setup. He has like one of these game station setups with like a monitor. And,
yeah, it looks like a suitcase, and it opens up, and there's like you put your system in the flat side, and the vertical side has a monitor. It's a really clever idea.
And he had his sticks with him, his arcade sticks, and he has the best arcade sticks. So it was a fun experience, even though like I'm not a big fighting game fan. I like those two fighting games in particular. I'll play them casually for sure, and watch other people play them. I'm never going to be good enough to beat anybody, other than another friend at the same level.
Yeah.
But
for me, I just start button mashing. I'm like, quarter circle punch. That's usually a special move, right? Like that's how I play.
No, that's how I play. I don't know any of the combos or anything.
Yeah, I like try to do some combos and some moves. Like I have a rough idea of what to do, but I'm not as like in tune with all the sorts of nuances that go into fighting games.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Mr. Ryu 45, like, I'll come over to his place sometimes, if he'll be in the middle of playing Street Fighter, King of Fighters, or whatever. Sometimes he just does practice mode and goes into the training mode stage and just, like, tries a combo, resets characters' positions, tries a combo, resets characters' position. Like, he just, like, actually practices. And it's just, like, that is not something that I could do. Like, I want to play a game to beat it, and you don't really beat fighting games. Like, the arcade mode is not really why you're there.
Yeah. And you had a pair of shoes stolen from you.
Probably. Maybe. Yeah, like, odds are some drunk person just thought they were theirs because there's a lot of black shoes, and I was super pissed. So
maybe it was a super fan. Maybe it was a super fan.
Yeah.
Just wanting,
so
wanting a piece of the good life.
at long last, I have tasted defeat.
I saw your comment on Facebook, and I didn't know if you actually found them, but you didn't actually end up finding them.
No,
Did you see my comment?
Yeah, your comment was amazing.
Yes.
So
now the shoe's on the other foot.
Yeah, the other feet. So I'm gonna buy some new shoes tomorrow, I guess. I mean, the only good news is that my shoes were really old anyway. It's like they weren't falling apart, but it's not like, oh my god, my new shoes or anything. I've had them for years, so like, I guess this is an excuse to buy new shoes. Like, I'm one of those people who,
these shoes
like,
have walked a lot of roads.
Yeah, sure, a lot of roads to and from work and like nowhere else because I'm very introverted.
No, it's a Randall Flagg reference from The Stand.
Oh, it's been too long. It's been way too long.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
That was it.
Yeah, it was a fun trip though. But it takes up the whole weekend because
we got back at 5 p.m. and like there's my Sunday.
Yeah, and I even had to waste a few moments at your place because we had a fantastic like rainstorm.
There was a 90% chance of rain today. It's like, when's it coming? Well, it finally happened just before we got to my place. It was starting to rain a little bit, so we're like, oh well, okay, there's the rain. And then once we got inside, it really started coming down. It's like, maybe you better not get out and drive for a few minutes.
But I did want to talk a little bit about the place that we went to for lunch.
That was cool.
It's a pretty cool place. I think a lot of people would be interested in it.
Yeah.
We went to a Japanese supermarket in North Jersey called Mitsuwa. And
Been there a few times.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's not just a supermarket. Like, it has little stalls on the inside for, like, it's basically like a mall, to be honest.
Yeah, it's got a little mini mall and a whole food court. Yeah.
And then there's stores on the other, like, when you leave the supermarket, like a bookstore, there's a knick-knack store.
Yeah, so the little, like, souvenir kind of looking
hair salon.
store.
Yeah, and I think you can even get things like geese at one of the shops, that kind of thing.
So now you can cosplay Ryu.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But I did want to talk about the things that I picked up, because I picked up some cool things from the restaurant, or the supermarket rather. So I did have some chicken katsu, which is a chicken cutlet dish, Japanese style, and I had some green tea ice cream, which is great. But I brought home with me some Orinamen C, which is basically a in Japan, they would say that it's like a health drink, but to anybody else in the world, it's just an energy drink. It basically has vitamins, but it's just loaded with caffeine and sugar. And I really like the taste of it. It's like in a small bottle, but it tastes good. And I bought some of that. It's really good. And I got some ramune candy, which is like soda flavored candy. And I bought some curry packets for making Japanese curry. So I was really happy to get all that stuff, because it's kind of hard to find that stuff around here unless you go to like an Asian supermarket. And there's one in Cherry Hill, which isn't too far away, but I just never go there. So I thought it was cool.
I was a lot more conservative. I just had stir-fried pork and rice, and I bought some haichu because it's the same thing. Like, haichu's a lot more mainstream than it used to be, but, like, I don't really, like, go to places
you don't see it around.
Yeah, like, I was just like, it's right in front of me. I'll pick up a couple of haichus. That was it. Cool story, bro.
But, having said all that, and all the things associated with it, I did want to mention all that, but we could move on to our normal segment here. So, Pyro, what did you play this week?
So, I, upon talking about Dragon Quest Builders last weekend, and having finished Shin Megami Tensei 4, I was like, hey, I can pick up another portable game. And I started playing it, and it is pretty addictive. But it also so happens that this is the same week that my girlfriend wants to play Persona 4 Golden. So I'm kind of waiting for her to finish that now before I can play some more Dragon Quest Builders. But it's a really fun take on Minecraft.
That's on Vita?
What is?
Dragon Quest Builders?
It's PS4 and Vita.
Oh, I didn't know it was on both. That's cool.
I don't know if it's cross-save, but I figured that's a really fun portable game. Like,
sure.
Because like you can just when I'm on the subway, just build on the subway, basically.
Yeah, that's fun.
But yeah, but now I have to kind of not compete. I'm letting her use my Vita to play Persona 4 because I'm a huge fan of it, so I want her to play it as well. So I'll just wait until she's not using it to play it. But like I said, it's a really interesting take on Minecraft, because it's Minecraft with, not that Minecraft didn't have quests and things you like goals that as the game went on, things you could do, but it feels like a more robust story version of Minecraft, and I feel more of a reason to build things and do stuff like that and help people and explore the areas instead of just to explore and to build. It's a reason for all that, and that's what really is getting me into it. The controls aren't necessarily the best, but for what it is, I think it's a pretty good use of my time.
That's really cool. I'm glad that, like, and a lot of people are playing this game. I'm glad that, like, some aspect of the series is catching on in the United States. It seems to be finally taking hold that the series is important for a reason in Japan.
Mm-hmm. And upon playing that, I'm really, like, so I've been a fan of the Dynasty Warriors games, but I get really bored of them really quickly because
me too.
There's really nothing to them. But the Gundam one and the Dragon Quest one, like I kind of want to play, and kind of the Zelda one, I kind of want to play more now because like those are the themes that I would really enjoy.
Yeah, well,
I just
I'm
haven't
the same
had
way.
enough downtime to pick it up, really.
I'm the same way, except that instead of
You're in it for the fan service, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
instead of Gundam and Dragon Quest, I'm in it for Hokuto no Ken and One Piece, and we both are in it for Zelda. And
Yeah.
Same here.
Pyro, I don't know about you, but Vyse, I suspect that you're going to be very into the Berserk one when it comes out.
Oh yeah,
as I will.
I mean, it's the same thing you've been talking about. I'm only gonna buy it if it's part of a series that I like. I'm not gonna buy every game in the series because I think that's asinine. But I'm gonna buy the ones that I like.
Yeah, but I know that they're like Diablo in the sense that you can play them forever.
Yeah.
And they get very, very repetitive. So if you don't enjoy the theme and the gameplay, then you're not gonna like. I like Dynasty Warriors. I liked playing the game, but once I started playing through it with the second character, I'm like, I don't really want to do this again.
Yeah, it's something
Yeah.
where like if you were to go back to it at all, you might want to like play another game and then turn Dynasty Warriors back on. Like maybe it's out of my head enough that I can get pleasure from it again.
Yeah, yeah. But I
think
feel like
it's
if it was like Gundam, like for me, Gundam or Dragon Quest or whatever, then I know the story behind the games. I like the characters.
That's definitely fun.
So instead of playing through the story and with characters that I don't care about, it's playing through the stories with characters I care about. So I feel a little bit different about them, and
Yeah.
I feel like I could spend more time playing them, and
I think-
repeating the same thing over and over again.
I think it's one of those comfort kind of series. It's very much an arcade game in a lot of ways. You know, you play it for a few minutes and it's a lot of fun. You see something flashy happen, like you gain levels here and there, and you can do more flashy moves later, and you get to see your characters that you like in an ultra action context. Like you normally don't see Link fighting like waves and waves of goons like that.
That's
You see
not a
him fight
thing.
like one or two bad guys at a time.
Yeah, he'll fight like
Yeah,
4 in
yeah.
a room or something at like most.
So like I'll be in it just to see Link do all those kinds of things and see like all of the tropes of the series in like kind of shoved into that formula, which is cool, and also to play as characters that you would never be able to play as in a regular Zelda game.
Yeah, especially for Zelda, I'm excited about that because for Hokuto, you could imagine playing as a bunch of those other characters, and Gundam, like a lot of the Gundams do stuff, and like while there's only one main protagonist, you can easily see yourself playing as a bunch of them. But Zelda, that's never been a thing. Like you play as Link, like all the other characters, based on what kind of games the Zelda series are, like you talk to them. Like you don't see them getting to act flashy in cutscenes or anything. Like you talk to them and they're like, I'm a more important character. You have to you have to do this now. Like you don't see them fight, so it's kind of like whoa, like when you're playing Hyrule Warriors.
And
You can play as Sheik. You can play as like all kinds of cool characters.
Yeah, Sheik you could maybe envision playing as because she was in the Smash Brothers games, but like then you get really weird. Like you could play as like Din Ferrari and Nehru. It's like what?
Yeah, you could play as like the girl from Link's Awakening. Like
yeah, it's like really crazy. Like Skull Kid. It's like damn, okay.
And it's interesting because like you said, like you're used to playing as Link, but even in Dragon Quest, you obviously play as all the classes, but you see text kind of more on how they do things. So when you're playing that, and then Gundam, where you're just watching stuff, you have like you are the ones doing the moves.
Yeah.
So it feels a little bit more interesting to you because you're like, oh, they did this in the anime or they did this in the game, and now I can do it whenever I want.
And this is a very specific kind of esoteric thing, but you know what's also kind of fun is when if it's a series that you follow, like Gundam or something. With Gundam, it's a little less likely to happen because Gundam is a season and it's like a self-contained series and then it's over. But with a longer, overarching series like One Piece, like you can get some weirdness. Like the game can't come out after One Piece is over until One Piece is over. And it's been around forever at this point. So you can get weird little things, like when you play as a certain character and you do their level 2 or level 3 super special move, there's a chance it might be something that you've never seen in the anime or manga before, because it's like, well, we need 2 moves, and we've only seen him really do 1, so we're just going to make 1 up. And it's like, oh, I've never seen that before. Like, a One Piece Pirate Warriors 3 goes all the way up to the Dressrosa arc. And when the game came out, the Dressrosa arc wasn't quite finished. So the story mode invented an ending where, like, Blackbeard was involved, and he never set foot on Dressrosa. So you have this weird kind of like what if scenario at the last. Like, every mission in the game is basically canon except done as a Warriors game, but the very last mission even has a little disclaimer below it, like, we're making this up. This is the one mission where we don't know what's happening. It's really entertaining.
And then the other part about that, and in Gundam, where you like in One Piece, if you had the characters unlocked, you can play as characters that didn't even exist in certain parts of the manga, because
you could play as Nico Robin in like the buggy arc, and it's like, what?
And then in Gundam, it's like you're using Gundams that aren't even from that series, because a lot of the Gundam games are from like taking all these series and mashing them together.
Yep, so. And the Kamen Rider, there's a Kamen Rider Warriors game as well. It's Japan,
oh, really? I didn't know that.
It's Japan only. And they did the same thing too.
It's for PS3, I think.
Yeah, it is. And speaking of PS3 Japan only, there's also a Saint Seiya Warriors game where I don't follow that series, but I think
that one actually did come to America as a download only.
Oh, it was download? Okay, because the only I did see a physical copy, but it was like a European version, so I was like, is that the only one? So okay, if it did come to America, then that's super cool. But
yeah, because I see the
series.
downloadable content when I browse the Sony PSN store.
Okay, all right, fair enough. So we did get it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the only ones that I have are the Zelda one, and I have the 3DS one so I could get the extra characters and add them to the Wii U one. The 3DS one's just it doesn't run very well, and so I'm not a big fan of it. I also have the Fist of the North Star ones. I have both of them.
Yeah, those are great. I actually imported the second one, because America got it digital only.
Yeah, me too. And Ken's Rage 2.
That's such a dumb title. Like, I know they want to make it sound cool, like Ken's Rage, but like,
he's never been mad at anything.
Yeah, Kenshiro's ultimate power is like sadness.
Yeah,
like he doesn't.
He's melancholy.
He's not like, even though you always if you've ever heard of Kenshiro but haven't watched the series, you probably see him like bursting out of his like shirt and just pounding people to death. But like, that's kind of righteous anger. He doesn't get mad. It's like rage is not a thing that he has.
Yeah,
it's like a misleading title for the purpose of selling the game. It's kind of like how North American every Kirby game ever gives him the angry eyebrows, and he's like the most lovable character ever.
Yeah, he's more you more get the like the vibe that Kirby is just kind of along for the adventure and like kind of almost accidentally being a hero. He's just kind of like sitting there doing his thing.
Yeah, it's like Donkey Kong in Donkey Kong 64, where he's just sitting around being a doof. Same thing with Donkey Kong Country Returns. He just wakes up one day and his banana stash is gone. He's like, what? He just has to go deal with that.
Here, you know what I've always wondered? Like, how did he ever expect to eat all those bananas before they got too ripe to eat?
Shut up, they're mine. That's what it is. No, honestly, what I'm questioning is why the Kremlings want the freaking bananas. What do they care about it? They're a bunch of like carnivorous, I assume, reptiles. Like, they're all gators, and they steal his banana horde? What? Why? What's their problem? Like that's just being mean.
Maybe they're just dicks.
But the thing is, like, then they do it. No. I was about to say then they do it again, but they really don't. The second game,
they just kidnapped Donkey Kong.
Yeah, the second game they revenge kidnapped Donkey Kong, and what was going on with the third game?
They kidnapped Diddy and Donkey Kong.
Oh, you're right. Wow. Okay, that's right, because there's that later level. Okay, I gotcha. So yeah, the first time it was the bananas.
Just to have a different dynamic of characters. That's
no. I mean that's fine, but the plot of 2 and 3. The plot of 2 and 3, like, it makes sense. It's like, they kidnapped my friends, I'm gonna get them. But the first one, they took my stuff, I'm gonna get them. But like, again, that's what they wanted, your stupid bananas. Like, all right. I just thought it was kind of funny.
But yeah,
and in Nico 64, take your bananas.
I'm trying to think of the other Muso games I have. I think those are the only two, but I do want the Berserk one.
Yeah, the ones that I own.
do have the
Sengoku Basara?
Yeah, I have both of those that came out in English. I think they called the first one Chaos Seed or something.
No,
like
it was
Chaos Legion.
No, Devil Kings.
Devil Kings. I get
Chaos Legion was something
confused.
else. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, but it's another Capcom game that came out around the same time. Yeah, that's why I get them confused.
The ones I have Hokuto 1 and 2, and One Piece 1 through 3, and Hyrule Warriors, but I have not yet played Hyrule Warriors because I still have to plug in my Wii U for the first time ever.
Yeah.
Like I bought it when I got like a good deal on it, and then I've just been playing other things. The same goes for the original Xbox. I've had it for a long ass time now, and I haven't.
I wanted to remind you of something, by the way. Yeah. I just thought of it. You know how we had a discussion in the car about how you didn't want to buy any WiiWare games because you were afraid it would conflict with your firmware?
Well, it will. Like, I tried going to the eShop, and it's like, upgrade your firmware.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, you can use your Wii U to download those games.
Well, I thought I said that in the car. You said that the Wii U didn't have all of the stuff that the Wii does.
Okay. So, yes and no.
All right.
And I'll specify. You have to turn it into Wii mode in order to download Wii games.
Oh, so the Wii U has the Wii games, then it's fine. All right, so that's okay.
Correct.
I'm okay with that. Yay, problem solved.
So you have to go into the Wii emulator,
But that's fine. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's not even a problem then.
Yeah. I just wanted to let you know.
We're safe. Yeah, well, thanks for that.
Yeah. So,
and by
there
the way,
are some limitations, but
for those
of
you who may be wondering, because this is a very oddly specific conversation, the reason I don't want to upgrade my Wii firmware is that there's a chance it might kill the homebrew channel I installed on it, which is how I was able to play the Japanese copy of Fatal Frame 4 when I Let's Played it way back.
Yeah. So, what else did you want to go over, Pyro, while we were at it?
So, the last thing I wanted to go over is I might be finally almost done with Tokyo Mirage Sessions. It's like, it's one of those games that now that I'm at the final boss, I just want to beat it and get over with, but also there's like, still like all these little things that I want to do. Like, when I've been playing it, I'm like, I just want to finish this game. I don't like it enough that I got so far, and it's a Mega 10 game, so I want to finish it. And in the end,
it doesn't even matter.
It doesn't even matter. But like, if this was not a Mega 10 game, I would not have finished it. I would have been like,
Gotcha.
Okay, I'm done. Like, this is not worth my time. But because it is, I'm like, you know what? I'll put in the effort. But now that I'm almost done with it, I'm like, you know what? I'll put in a little extra effort because there's just these little things, like completing all the side quests and like getting all the skills for my characters. But now I'm at the final boss, and when I beat it, I'm done with it finally, and I can move on with my life.
Yay!
It's funny. It's funny what we do to ourselves in order. It's kind of like, you know what it's kind of like for me. It's kind of like watching the bad movies that a director's made in order to get like a better sense of, like their style, or even get the historical context for the stuff that they made. It's like, I'm watching this, but well,
it's kind of funny you mention that, because like, earlier you said that like getting all the games in the series just to get them is asinine, but there are reasons like that where you do it for like a different kind of context, because I do get all the games in a series if I like the series, including the mediocre ones, because it's the same thing.
I do that for Castlevania. Like, I'm gonna get them.
Don't forget Judgment. Art designed by the person who did Death Note. But the reason like I'm playing Resident Evil Survivor is that like, who knows, maybe it's not as bad as I remember, and it turns out it's not. It's actually decent. But also, it's cool to see how the series has evolved or tried new things. Like, remember that time they made it a light gun first person free roaming game? Like, huh. It's like, remember that time Silent Hill had a visual novel on the Game Boy Advance? What? Like, there's like weird little entries in the series that were otherwise forgotten.
Just because you're not enjoying it in the moment doesn't mean that you didn't.
I can still appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and especially this is good for the Souls series, because people have asked me if I'm going to do the other Souls games. Yeah, I just don't know when. But it's cool to see little things, like how the controls evolve. Like in Dark Souls, you can do a little run jump which was never a thing in Demon's Souls. And I don't know when it was first introduced, but I know that at least in Bloodborne, you can speed up, like you could speed up your climb of a ladder by holding the run button, which has not been a thing for so long that I actually had to tell Mr. Ryu that he could do that. He was just climbing it slowly. I'm like, you could fast climb. Like, oh, cool. It's like little things like, why didn't they do that earlier? You know, it's cool little changes like that.
Yeah, definitely. Pyro, are you finished on your segment then?
Yep, that was my week basically.
All right,
what about
Lotus,
you?
Go ahead.
We had the Halloween party. I edited my Resident Evil Survivor Let's Play, which took a while because they were long installments. So, Vyse, what have you been up to?
Well, I mean, geez, I talked about most of the things that I did, but and the major things that I spent my time with. I didn't really play anything this week other than the fighting games that we played. But I did want to talk about yesterday was quite an eventful day because not only was I driving you guys up to Queens and going through all that and going to the party, but the day started off very early. I had a work-related function that was not exactly... It's one of those things like if you don't go, people notice.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like you got to show up to save face in order to be part of the team. But it's not really up my alley, you know, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a flag football event where we split up into teams and fought, played our coworkers in a flag football game. So that's a football game that's not contact, but you try to take off flags off of like a belt.
Yeah, back in high school gym.
Yeah. Well, this is mainly for listeners if you don't know.
Yeah.
You might be in another country, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
Or never heard of it. So, and it has a shortened field, of course. It's only 20 yards. There's only one first down. But it was fun. But I'm not very good at football. I never really played it as a kid. The athletic things that I was good at were swimming and running. I could swim and I can run. But I'm not good at catching or hitting or anything like that. I used to play soccer too. I could play soccer. But I can't. I was never the best at these things. You know what I mean? So as an adult, even I wasn't much help. Let's just put it that way. I got in the way, which was cool.
Yay!
But it was early. It was 8:00 on a Saturday morning at a football field, yeah. After a while, though, we had enough people on our team that I didn't want to get even in the way. So. And the people that were on the field all the time were really good. So I let them do their thing. So I did play that. By the way, I am in a fantasy football league. And I got to tell you, I'm a casual fan of football at the best. I never liked football growing up. I kind of disliked it for a lot of reasons. Mostly because I was a big Futurama fan, and it always got in the way of Futurama because of the time
it was
slots.
always Fox. It got in the way of The Simpsons for me.
Yeah, well, no, Futurama's at the beginning of that time cycle, so like Futurama would always get the brunt of it during the fall. That was one of them, but mostly because I didn't understand the game. Like, let's just face it, I just didn't understand it. It's a weird sport in a lot of ways, and it's not weird to people who know it. But when you really think about it, it's like, how'd you come up with this?
Actually, here's something that people might laugh at us for. Well, I don't know about you, but might laugh at me for because, like, same thing. I didn't know football or how it worked except for the most basic idea of like how you score. But what always made me really mad when I was waiting for The Simpsons or Futurama or whatever it was to come on was when it's in the last quarter and I'm just kind of like I don't even know there's a game going on. I'm just looking at the timer in the upper right corner counting down, and there are ways to stop the timer, like if they call a timeout or if it's in between plays sometimes. And I never knew when it was supposed to stop the timer and when it wasn't, but I always got so angry when it's like there are 2 minutes left, 1:59.
2 minutes can be a half hour.
Yeah, but it's
football.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like it's counting down, and then the timer just freezes, and I'm like, you've got to be messing with me. Like it was so infuriating, like all the time when I was a kid.
Yeah, soccer it'll keep going until it ends, but football's just like that, and that's part of the strategy of it. So I got into football pretty much because I wanted to bond with my dad when I came home during college. I wanted to be able to talk with him and catch up with him and spend some time with him, and I didn't want to leave the room, when I was home. So I was like, might as well learn about it, and there has to be something to it why people like it. It's not not a snob like that where I'm just gonna say, hey, there's nothing good about it. It's absolutely not true. I just I didn't get it. That's really it. And now I like it, but I'm not the kind of sports fan that will turn on a game just to watch it. I will enjoy it when everybody else in the room is enjoying it. I agree. I will go to a function, where people are watching the game and get into it, even cheer people on, that kind of thing, and know what's happening, and I even know some of the, I was about to say characters.
Yeah, I caught that.
I know some of the players. I know which teams are generally good. I keep a pulse on it also, so I can talk to people about it at work too, because tons of people at work are into it. It's a very mainstream thing. People love football in America. It's a social thing. And just like a lot of other social things, like if you're a doctor, you better learn how to play golf, because other doctors play golf, so you better be a part of that. It's kind of like that.
It makes me wonder, do any doctors like golf, or do they all get into it because other doctors play golf?
Well, it's kind of hard to
the entire profession hates it, but they're all so good by now.
It's one of those things. It's like you would never get into it naturally.
Yeah.
But then it's one of those things you begin to like once you do it. Mm-hmm. Right? If that makes sense. And I played golf. I'm terrible at it, but I played it a couple times, and I mentioned it. And I'm starting to like that, but I'm terrible at it. And I would never learn how to play it unless other people had been playing it with me. It's another social thing. So football is kind of like that. I'm in the financial industry. Every good salesperson, like a good many of them are people that are really into sports. So like especially your managers, a lot of them are jock types, to be honest. Back in high school and college, a lot of them were sports players. A lot of people with a lot of charisma tend to be like that. I'm a weird case in that I'm a geek with charisma, which is kind of weird.
They make those?
Yeah, apparently. But yeah, I mean, in order to be social in those situations, you need to know a little bit about it, and I don't want to be out of place. So, and I'm happy to learn it. It's fun. So that's my long-winded lead up to I'm in a fantasy football league with my former coworkers, and knowing like not nearly as much as them, it's really funny that I'm in first place right now.
Yeah.
And and I can tell you this from experience, people that are really into football kind of have an almost I don't know how to describe it. They have their own prejudices when it comes to certain players and certain teams. So they either hate certain people because of their attitude on the field or off the field, or how they play against their favorite team. Whereas I am completely free of prejudice when it comes to that. So I picked solely based on stats alone, not recommended stats, which a lot of people go off of. We use the Yahoo system, and they have like experts polled to say, he's going to be good this year, and he's going to be good this year, that kind of thing. They're kind of like the best way I could describe them is like that all that stuff is complete bullshit. It's like weather people. Weather people are only going to be accurate within a week. And even then they're not that accurate a lot of times. They know the general idea of things, but they don't know everything, right? I don't know how you can begin to predict what can happen in a season of a game where people get hurt all the time.
Yeah.
And also anything can happen because there's so many people on the field. Football is very much a team sport. Basketball, you can kind of get away with one or two really good stars on a team and still do really well. Football's not like that. You need to have a good team in order to win. So I went solely based on existing stats, stuff that happened last year. And I've been doing well because of it. So I just wanted to share that with people. A lot of it's a numbers game. It's kind of like playing D&D. It's one of those things. And it's like Moneyball. Moneyball is a whole movie about that. It's how somebody built an entire baseball lineup based completely on their stats and ended up capitalizing on it.
Yep.
So
numbers matter the most.
Yeah, well, they matter in that they are the best indicator of what might happen. Still, you might have bad luck. Mm-hmm. You can always have bad luck, but you give yourself the best chance of winning that way. So, what else did I do here? I bought a few things. That's not a big surprise, but I got those HDCP cures that we were talking about last week, just to see if I could mitigate the problems that I'm having with my PS4 and my TV. I got the splitter and also the HDCP downsampler that I got. So I'm happy to check those out. I'll do that during the week. I haven't even opened them yet. Also, Steam had a horror movie sale, and I'm a pretty big horror movie fan, but I haven't seen some of the classics, and I know the ones that I do really like, I love. Like I have Alien. I really love Halloween, the original Halloween, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I've never actually seen Psycho. I own it. I just haven't got a chance to watch it.
That one's brilliant.
Yeah. So they had a sale on movies, and that's not the typical platform for movies that I would like to watch, but I've been getting into streaming lately, and they had them well priced.
Yeah, I haven't ever got movies on Steam. I forgot that they even did that.
Yeah, well, they had an advertisement for the sale that they were having, which was effective in getting me to use it as a movie service. They have HD movies on sale, and you can watch them anytime you want for $6 a pop. And like normally you'd have to buy a Blu-ray for almost like $20 for in most cases, and you'd have to wait for it, and it wouldn't be accessible from every place just where you are from downloading it. So. And streaming it. So I bought. They had some really good ones on sale. I got American Psycho, which is one of my favorites. I have seen that one, and I like it a lot. Have you guys seen that one?
No.
Nope.
Okay, that one I think you both would really like, because it is kind of like if you combined The Great Gatsby with a horror movie. And
interesting.
I say that because it's like high society, but there's murder in it.
Yeah.
But like there's the same kind of high society grandstanding and same kind of like petty competition in it. So I really like it a lot. It's a really nice pastiche on 80s corporate culture and American corporate culture in general. And it also has some. It's almost a comedy. Like it's a black comedy in a lot of ways. Like I don't know if have either of you seen the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Yes.
Nope.
Okay.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre is amazing.
So you know how the end where they have the whole family of weirdos trying to kill the last girl, and it's like it's so terrifying and weird that it's funny.
In a way.
Yeah, because it's like...
I don't think it's supposed to be, though. Like, I suspect that American Psycho is supposed to be, because I've seen 2 clips from it, and that's definitely, like, if you ever laugh, you might feel guilty about it, but you were supposed to laugh. Like, in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's more like it can go into comical territory, but then it bounces back because it's like, with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, this is a thing that, like, could have happened.
Well, the director had always stated that he wanted it to be a dark comedy, a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the director of that, and he said he had a lot of comedic moments in there, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying
I could think of one obvious comedic moment.
I'll just give you some evidence in this regard. When he made the second one, it was almost a complete comedy.
That one I know. I know.
And he did that because he liked the comedic elements that he came up with in the first one. But then he found out that the audiences hated it. Because he went too far with them. The comedic elements give you a breath of fresh air after being terrified. But if you're not terrified at all, what good is it? It's just a goofy piece of crap. So I don't think he quite got that when he was making the second movie. American Psycho is like, at some points you're like, oh god, like this is terrifying, but the situation is so manic. Christian Bale's acting is so manic.
Yeah, like the famous Huey Lewis in the News scene where he's just like talking about this band, like not a lot of people listen to them, but they should. Or not a lot of people pay attention to their lyrics, but they should. He's going to this whole weird thing, like moments before he just flips out, but he's got this big like doofy grin on his face the entire time.
Yeah, he's manic and off hinged compared to his corporate self, that it's really jarring, and you kind of have to laugh.
And the only other scene I've seen was was on YouTube, where everything was played a lot more straight, but the situation was so stupid that it made you laugh, which is when he and all these other VPs are comparing their business cards.
Yes.
And they all look the freaking same, but he's picking out like, oh, this is ivory white. Oh, this is off-white. And he's picking out the shades of white the cards are and the fonts and the lettering. And he's just like, my card looks better than your card. Oh, but this guy's card looks even better. And he starts like clenching his fist and like shaking. It's just like, what is
the audacity of this guy to use this font? Like, what the hell? Who does he think he is to use this font?
Yeah, and he's getting like legitimately angry, and he starts like shaking. But it's like, look at what they're talking about. This is like, it's so stupid. It's funny. Like, you should not be thinking, let alone bothered by any of this.
But the thing is, they all are bothered by it.
Yeah, it's not even Christian Bale this time. It's everybody who's just like, oh, look what I've just had printed today. Check out the quality on these. And it's like, whatever. Because it's funny, because they're business cards. The clients not only are probably not going to notice, except, oh, that looks professional, but they're sure as hell not going to compare them to other VP's cards, because they're dealing with you, not your whole company. Like, so it's just, it's all a pointless endeavor. It's just like a giant pissing contest.
Yeah, it's a big giant pissing contest of stupidity, and that's what makes the movie so great. Actually, I would say that a lot of my favorite horror movies are in the same vein. Yeah. I just love black comedy in general, and
so do I.
Like
Evil Dead 2.
Like Evil Dead 2 is Gremlins. I love stuff like that. I love it. I love stuff like that.
I just love the scene in Evil Dead 2 where he takes like the evil disembodied hand and traps it under a bucket and weighs it down with a giant book like A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway. It's like
so good. But going on from there.
Also, where'd he get that? The book was just there.
It was put in the house specifically for this joke.
Yes.
But anyway, I bought the Blair Witch Project. I've never seen it. This is the original, not the new one.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either.
Obviously. But a lot of horror fans still stick by this one. It was a big fad when it came out, so I wasn't quite sure whether it would persevere, but there are still a lot of fans of this one.
Not to mention it pioneered a whole horror genre, the found footage genre.
Exactly. So I figure the horror fans are generally right when they talk about things. There are a lot of different sects of horror fans, but they by and large point you in the right direction. And a lot of them will also tell you this is not a mainstream horror movie. Don't watch this if you're this type of person.
Yeah.
The people that love that genre so much are actually really good at picking out ones that you'll like. So I bought that one in hopes to watch it. I also got House of a Thousand Corpses, which came out when we were in high school. It was a Rob Zombie horror movie.
I don't think I've heard of that one.
I've always wanted to see it. Did you ever hear of... you've probably heard of the second one.
The Devil's Rejects?
Devil's Rejects, yeah. But yeah, it's supposed to be a modern classic. And I also bought the original Ju-on, The Grudge, the Korean one.
It's Japanese, isn't it?
I thought it was Korean, but maybe you're right. Maybe it's Japanese. I'm sorry. And no, you're right.
Yeah, I think it is.
Japanese. Yeah, it's Japanese.
Just like a Ringu.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Although,
but I bought that. I've never seen actually any of the Grudge movies, so I wanted to watch that.
I've only seen the first one, the American one.
Yeah, I saw the first American one. By the way, for good Korean horror, it's kind of horror. I recommend. I mean, not Oldboy. I wouldn't consider that horror, but like that, the same director made a movie called The Thirst, which is like a take on vampires, but it does things that I haven't really seen other vampire movies do, and it's very well done.
And to go along with that, you actually gave me a gift yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Ju-on the Grudge Haunted House Simulator for the Wii, which is an obscure horror game that came out in America for the Wii. And I haven't been able to find it in recent days because there are a lot of horror fans that hold on to this kind of thing. And you were able to find it for me, which
I was just browsing the GameStop at my local mall, and like I saw it on the shelf. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like I haven't seen this in like 3 or 4 years. It was just gone. You know, like some games just
you can't find them in the wild really anymore.
Yeah, some games just disappear from store shelves. And like this one popped up, so it's like, all right, because I
even at conventions it's hard to find. Yeah, I haven't seen it at a convention in years.
Yeah, it's like Rule of Rose. Like if I ever see it, it's kind of like, oh, there it is. There's someone actually has this.
Yeah, so I'm happy to have that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. By the way, speaking of which, before we get to another topic real quick, I do want to point out that we didn't mention this last week, but last week you had actually gotten me something when you had come over, which was a boxed copy of Shivers, the Sierra horror game. I don't know much about it, except that it's apparently like actually pretty creepy. So I definitely want to look into that one. It's a Windows 95 game, so I think I can get it to run on a modern PC. Because the reason I say this is that with Resident Evil 2 for the PC, I had to, like, of course I had to set the computer to compatibility mode, but I think I had to tweak one or two other things. I didn't have to work very hard to get it to run, but it was more than nothing. Whereas with Resident Evil 1 for the PC, I set the computer to Windows 95 compatibility mode, and I was just in. I was like, oh, sweet.
Yeah, so moving on from there, they also had the Saw series on sale, and
okay.
I am not a huge fan of the first movie when I watched it, but I figure there are a lot of people that still kind of like this series, and I kind of wanted to see where it went.
I think they're making a new one too soon.
So I've always been fascinated with horror movies when I was a kid because I saw so many sequels, and it's the only genre where they have so many sequels because of their low budgetness. They can continue to make them even if they don't make tons and tons of money. So when I was a kid, I was like, what happened in this one, and why is Jason going to hell in this one? And like stuff like that. Like, oh man, they're
he
like
took Manhattan.
Yeah, like it
all
just
of it
fascinated me, and it has all this cool iconography on the VHS tapes, you know what I mean? Like the posters and stuff of those movies are always so cool looking.
I remember
you know?
I remember I was actually a little frightened when I was a kid by it it was Child's Play 2 or 3, but I want to say 2, where the cover was him with the scissors,
the Jack in the Box,
Jack in the Box thing.
Yeah, that one's cool.
It's like it's really creepy because it has that pitch black backgrounds, like Goya's Saturn devouring his children, and Chucky looks scary, like no matter what. But
that's another one of the iconic ones from my childhood, that I remember. I
don't even know if I've seen that movie.
I had never seen it either, but I've seen the. I remember being fascinated by the cover.
Yeah, like I've seen parts of some of the Child's Play movies on TV, so maybe I saw part of that one. I forgot if it was 2 or 3 I was watching, but that cover was kind of like, woo.
So, I like the ironic punishment kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
Like, I really love. This is actually part of my disappointment of the first Saw, is that I expected it to be like 7. And 7 is a masterfully made movie by David Fincher. And all the kills in that are ironic deaths, based off of a theme of the 7 Deadly Sins. And it's a great movie. Great acting, great directing, great everything. Great screenplay. And there's a lot of thought behind it. I thought, Saw, the original Saw had a really big lead up to it. Like, there were a lot of teasers for it. Mm-hmm. And so I thought it was going to be like that because it seemed like they were going for ironic death. And it is, but it's not as well made as 7 was. And I shouldn't expect it to be because it's not made by David Fincher. David Fincher is an awesome director. He's made a couple bad movies, but movies aren't always totally in control by the director either. If you're going to point towards Alien 3 as a failure, it certainly was, but it had a lot of executive meddling, and that's why it wasn't good. It wasn't because of him. And everybody gets a bad one every once in a while, anyway. So, I just figured it would be in the same line as 7, and it was good. It had a couple twists and turns, but it didn't live up to my expectations, is my point. But then I saw some of the parts of the sequels, and they're directed very, I guess, very much of the time, which was a lot of fast cutting and a lot of handycam stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of early 2000s movies. I'm talking Pyro would get this. It kind of feels like, even though they're a horror movie, it kind of feels like they're part of the Fast and the Furious series. Just because of the way it's directed. And not to say that the Fast and Furious movies are bad. I like them.
Well, they're doing a very different thing.
Fast and Furious movies.
They do their own thing. They're supposed to be crazy fast-paced all the time because it's car chases, the series.
Yeah. Yep.
Well,
when you're trapped in a torture room, it's like, what are you doing?
The series has also turned into the Avengers, but that's kind of what makes it cool. I guess my point was, I didn't really like those movies when they were coming out, but I've gotten an appreciation for the Fast and the Furious movies. I like them now. So I feel like I could probably have the same kind of appreciation for the Saw movies. Maybe they're not all good because, there's probably some bad ones in there, there always are bad ones in a series, but
like Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah, Too Fast, Too Furious is terrible.
Tokyo Drift too.
The fourth movie, not a lot of people don't like either. But
the only one I've seen was the 5th movie, which was Ocean's 11 with cars, but it was a lot of fun.
Everybody likes 5, 6, and 7. Everybody loves those movies.
That was so over the top, like you can't help but enjoy it.
But I wanted to see how the series evolved, because it's fascinating. Even if the movie itself isn't, the mythology is really cool. If that makes sense. Like the underpinning themes and the story about how the series moves on without the killer, even though his presence is still there. The killer dies after the 3rd one, I think. But he's still around in ways in the ones after that, and I think there are 6 or 7 movies in the Saw series. So they sold them in a huge bundle for $20. All the movies in the series. So I was like, I can't pass that up. That's a lot of, for $20, that's not a lot. So That's a lot of content. So I got that, and I also got so every once in a while I check the sales to see if there are some games that I've been looking to pick up for a long time, and one of them was Superhot. I don't know if you guys have heard of Superhot.
Yep, I've definitely heard of Superhot.
Okay, so I played and beat Superhot with my friend Retro Gamer over in Ireland earlier this year. I went to go visit him in March earlier this year. So Superhot came out while I was over there, and we downloaded it and played it during a night and had a lot of fun and beat it.
Oh, nice.
And so we had a lot of fun playing it. And we were trading off, trying to see whether we could beat it. And we did. And I wasn't disappointing at all. I loved it. I loved the length of it. It was like a really good movie, like it was a lot of fun. It had some really cool challenges and a really great aesthetic and kind of a really cool subversive story going on. So I hadn't bought it for myself because I had already beaten it. But it's one of those games I'm probably going to go back to because it's a cool game.
Yeah, I really want to get a chance to play that because I heard it was really good, and it's like a shooter puzzle game kind of thing.
Exactly. So for anybody who doesn't know, it's a first-person shooter that's highly stylized. I kind of think like it's similar to Mirror's Edge in a lot of ways, but it's not. But everybody is kind of has it has a Tron vibe to it, but you move around like in Mirror's Edge. It kind of has like a parkour, like you need to get weapons and in similar ways, that kind of thing. But the bullets that are fired in the game only move if you move, which is really the core mechanic. Like, so the bullets that you shoot and the bullets that are shot at you will only move within the 3D space if you move. And there's some really cool situations, and when they finally speed it up after you've beaten a level, you could see what it looks like at normal speed. Mm-hmm. It's really neat. It's a lot of fun. So there's some really cool situations that you need to get out of using this mechanic, and it's a lot of fun. It has a really neat story too. So I really like that, and it was super cheap this week. It was like 75% off, so I picked that up. The only other thing I have left on is my weigh-in, and maybe you guys can understand this, but I didn't do my weigh-in this week. Mm-hmm.
You're really busy this weekend.
We were out all weekend.
Yeah, I do it on Sunday morning every week, and on Sunday morning I was in Queens.
Yeah.
So, and by the time I got home, I had, the 3 meals of the day and all that stuff. So, it wouldn't be fair to weigh myself right now. It just wouldn't be consistent. It would be better for me to weigh myself tomorrow or something like that, but I'm just gonna skip this week. You guys would, I'm sure, understand, but I'm gonna move on to next week, and so to have a more accurate weigh-in. So I guess we can move on to questions then.
Yeah, well, so let's say two or three. So the first one, it looks like the first one's kind of a two-parter. So the first one is from Saturn Otaku. What are some of your other hobbies outside of books, games, movies, like sports, stamp collecting, or like do we have like other stuff going on besides what the viewers and listeners know we do?
I would say for me, other than video games, I have a hobby of playing board games, collecting Transformers, and comics a little bit, but I mean, that's about it. I mean, it's probably pretty normal stuff.
Yeah. For Vyse, you want to go, or should I go, or what?
I'll go.
Okay.
So everybody already knows that I'm into pretty much everything geeky. I'm into film, literature. I even write my own stories and write my own poetry. I teach, and I have so many hobbies, it's hard to keep track of them all. But I collect video games primarily. I read a lot of comics. I read a lot of books. But I also I think I would be remiss to say that I don't really talk about this hobby in particular. I actually like researching and going out to new restaurants. So I live near Philadelphia. I live about 15 minutes away, and Philadelphia is very much a food person's town. New York is really well renowned for its restaurants and having constant new restaurants pop up, but Philadelphia is also renowned for that in particular. And it has a really nice entrepreneurial character to it, especially in the last 7 years or so. A lot of the young people have taken over crappy parts of town and made them really fun, kind of like what happened to Hoboken about 10 years ago. So Hoboken used to be a crap hole of a town, but people got sick of how expensive New York was and moved out to Hoboken and made it kind of like a mini New York. And now it's gentrified and you can't go to Hoboken. You can't live there. It's too expensive.
Yeah, that's what happens.
So that kind of thing has been happening in Philadelphia. Old City used to be a crummy area of town that had some historical landmarks, but it has the Liberty Bell and where the Constitution was signed and the Declaration of Independence was signed. All that stuff from early America was happened in Philadelphia. It used to be pretty much the capital of the United States until the White House was built. So we also love our Ben Franklin, and there's a lot of Ben Franklin stuff around there. So it was taken over by some folks that were sick of the Society Hill prices, which is the really nice part of Center City, and in particular the gay community took over in Old City and made it a really nice place to live. And there's all kinds of really nice restaurants, and it's a fantastic place to go to. There's just so many cool things to do in that area of town. And then there are other areas of town that are following suit. There's Northern Liberties used to be a real crummy part of town, but now it's getting I guess basically hipster restaurants. All these really cool restaurants that combine different things or have specialty hamburgers and stuff like that. So not a day that goes by that there's not a new idea that's traded around. There's this one really cool place that is called Bing Bing Dim Sum, and me and my family found this out from doing research. We read the Philadelphia magazine, and I also read a lot of reviews and stuff like that, and general word of mouth. And this place is really cool. So if you're not familiar with what dim sum is, it's kind of like Chinese appetizers that you can order throughout the course of a meal. So Spanish food kind of has this too. It's called tapas.
Yep, but they're basically the same thing.
But it's a similar thing. You get small plates and you get to try a lot of different things. And if you're still hungry, you can order something else. It's not out of place to do it. Whereas at most restaurants, you order everything at the beginning and then that's it, right? Except for maybe dessert, right? But it's customary to order one thing, share it, and then move on and try something else because it's small plates. And this place is awesome. It's really cool. It has a bar in it. It has craft beers in it, which is another thing that I like to try, craft beers and whiskeys. But this place it's just so cool. It's decorated. It has just this really cool vibe to it. It has Christmas tree lights all over the place. It's just a unique place that's a lot of fun. It's small, but it has a lot of character. The people that go there, the regulars, are really fun and easy to talk to. It's just one of my favorite places. So trying new restaurants and going on new adventures is one of my favorite things to do, and I don't particularly talk about that a lot here. So that's my new thing here.
Okay. So, yeah, for me, I mean, like you, I do collect video games, other hobbies outside of books, games. This one is kind of cheating because I really haven't done it in an extremely long time, but I took piano lessons from the 3rd grade through the 12th. So
I was
like,
gonna hope you were gonna mention that.
yeah, like I am horribly out of practice, but I was I was good at it when I did it. And the only reason I really got out of practice is because I went to college, so I wasn't getting piano lessons at home because I was at college. But that's something I would like to get back into, and it's definitely a lot of fun. Like the last time I played piano was for like a Resident Evil 1 Let's Play, where I just did an old song that I'd known for a while, which happens to be in the game, Moonlight Sonata Part 1, or First Movement or whatever. Now the second part of Saturday Otaku's question is, also, what is one interesting fact about yourselves that the audience may not know? You kind of tied it into that with the restaurant thing right now, Vyse, but he does say the latter question can be tied to the former. Like, you like baseball, that's your hobby, because you played in high school. You could sort of connect the two. So is there any one thing about ourselves that the audience may not know?
Yeah, I guess one thing that I guess is a hobby of mine in the same sense of your piano is I used to swim a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of haven't done it in a while. There's not pools that are close enough and cheap enough to go to on a good enough basis. So
yeah,
that was definitely one of my hobbies, and it's because I used to swim a lot in school. And in summer, I used to swim all year round when I was in high school, actually.
For me, I used to collect comic books. I was very much into Spider-Man back in the day, and I can't even really tell you why, but I just fell out of it after a while. See also Magic the Gathering cards. I was very much into it starting in 1995, which is, well, 5 or 6, around when 5th edition came out. And then I fell out of it during the Onslaught block, partly just because I didn't like the new aesthetic of the cards, because they changed it a lot. But yeah, I just haven't been into them since, and I really only collected them. Like, I knew how to play, but I couldn't make a good deck to save my life.
I guess the interesting fact is I'm allergic to something very weird, and people never believe me when I tell them that I'm allergic to this thing.
Video games.
So this has a story to go along with it. I'll tell the brief version, but I worked at and I'm gonna start this up, and you're gonna be like, where the hell is this going? You guys probably already know about this, but I used to work at a bank where I was a teller, and we needed to wear a special T-shirt for a promotion that we were doing that day, and it had like question marks all over the T-shirt. And it was supposed to get customers to ask what the question marks were, and nobody did, of course, because nobody gives a shit.
Do you really
they just
think
want
they would
to do
care?
their banking and leave. So I got a T-shirt from my teller manager and put it on, and she had to go do an offsite event. And so after a while, I started scratching my neck, but I thought it was like an itchy day or something. And so
It's like the fabric.
Yeah. So I thought maybe, sometimes you just have, an itchy day, you just feel itchy. And it started to get really bad, and I was scratching more and more, and I started to break out in hives on my neck.
Damn.
And I'm not allergic to anything, to my knowledge, other than, a mild allergy to cats. But I have a cat, so I'm pretty much not allergic to cats anymore.
Yeah, that happened with me. Like, I've visited friends with cats over a long enough time where it doesn't bother me like it used to.
Yeah, exactly. Build up a resistance to it. So,
yeah.
And I'm not I was never deathly allergic to my cat anyway. But...
No, I used to leave your place and drive back home, and I would have itchy eyes and maybe a runny nose or something, and it was annoying, but it wasn't like this is a real problem. But that's mostly stopped.
But I don't have any food allergies or anything like that.
Yeah.
And so I went home and I basically scrubbed myself head to toe. I rushed home. People and my parents are freaking out. They're like, you want to go to the hospital? I was like, no. I'm like freaking out. I'm like, no, I just need to take a shower. And I took a shower and a bath, like to just like get whatever it was off of me, because I was like freaking out. You know, I was like hyperventilating, and I finally went back to work. You know, wearing my work clothes, my normal work clothes. I'm like, I'm not putting that back on. Whatever was going on with that shirt, I didn't want any part of it. So I talked to my teller manager when she gets back. I'm like, dude, like, do you use some kind of weird detergent? She's like, I use Tide. I was like, my mom uses Tide. There's no way that I'm allergic to that. It's like, there's something on your shirt. Like, do you have some kind of like cat or a dog? Oh, I don't have a cat or a dog. I was like, do you have any other pets? She's like, well, yeah, I have a monkey.
What?
And that's how I found out that I'm very allergic to monkeys.
Wow. Interesting.
So any chance I get to get doctors to balk at me, I put it on my medical forms that I'm allergic to monkeys.
Do you have any allergies? Actually, yes.
Yeah, and they think that I'm joking, and I am joking, but it's also true.
Yeah.
Anybody ever has that conversation, they always think it's me being a goofball, because it's not out of character for me to say something like that, but it's actually true, and
that's kind of funny.
Even funnier because of that. So
all right, so okay, then question number 2 is from Retro Gamer. So I guess we could do this and then one more.
I talked about him before too, so he's a personal friend of mine.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy. This one I might weigh in slightly into, but here we go. Why does Vyse hate Secretive Mana so much? And this is how you know he's a personal friend, because I don't think we've ever mentioned this. Like, Secretive Mana, like, you don't like it? What? Like, when did this come up? Like, he had to have known that outside of the context of our videos.
So I have certain vendettas against, like, things that everybody else loves. I'm not a contrarian by any means, because most of the time I try to defend things that people don't like, you know, and I try to be pretty neutral on my opinion. Like, usually I understand why people like things. Secret of Mana is a game that I don't understand why people like.
You know, back in college, we played it in the best way possible. It was you, me, and another person from our education program.
Yeah, we played with a multi-tap.
Yeah, we played 3-player Secret of Mana. Like, you can't do better than that. And, like, I was not enjoying myself. We played for, like, 20 minutes, and I'm like, this is boring.
When I played it, I don't know if I rented it or if I just played it on an emulator, but I kind of agree that I got halfway through it, and I didn't really like it that much. But then I played the second one, which is a little better. But I think out of the Mana series, Legend of Mana, I love Legend of Mana. Like, the music of that game, the bosses, the world building. Like, that's one of my favorite games, actually. But Secret of Mana, I can see why you wouldn't like it.
Secret of Mana has a huge following, and just, like, I finally tried it. Just, I don't care, like, at all. Like, no thanks.
So, this is one of those games where I was like, there must be something wrong with me, because I know so many people love it. You know what I mean? Like, and you've heard me talk about the Shin Megami Tensei series like that, and in that case, I know it's me, because like those games are just awesome, but I just, they don't click with me because of how complex they are, I guess. And not that I don't like complex games, it's just not complex in the right way for me.
Yeah.
So I just have to bring myself back to it and try to get used to it. But this game, I understand why people like it, but I think it has to do with the time period it was released in. I think a lot of fans of that game played it when it came out and really like it from when they played it when it came out. And also the music and the graphics are very charming.
They are. Like, it's a gorgeous looking game, and it's a gorgeous sounding game. It is.
And I've heard just like I've heard people say this about the music in Zelda in particular. In that game, these are some of the lullabies that people had growing up. So the music is so good in that game that it can really affect your enjoyment in a positive way. And it has some fun aspects to it. I mean, if you had a couple a couple friends that you used to play it with, and it's a unique game in that you can play it with 3 people on an old system. Couch co-op, like you would have had a good time just hanging out with your friends and playing it. But there are a couple things that irk me about it. So it's kind of like a Zelda game and kind of like an RPG game all at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I think if it took the approach that it was a Zelda game, it would have been way better. But because of the RPG elements, I think hold it back. And I think mostly from a modern standpoint. So, like, if it were a game like Zelda, like Four Swords Adventures, for instance, you could swing your sword whenever you want and connect with a bad guy, and it would be cool. But in this game, you have to wait for a cooldown period, kind of like an MMO game. You know, you attack, and then you wait. Attack, and then you wait.
Parasite Eve does that as well.
Yeah, I mean, there are plenty of action RPGs that do this kind of thing, but I think with the type of gameplay, I would rather be able to just swipe. Swipe at the right time, or swipe when there's a weak point revealed, or something like that, like in Zelda. I guess maybe my problem with it is that I'm comparing it to Zelda, and it's not Zelda. And maybe that's a problem with me, but I still grit my teeth when it's not behaving the way I think it should. There's also one other thing that I think is a couple other things that are annoying. It's hard to get feedback from whether you're doing damage to a bad guy or not, particularly the bosses. So like the boss would just some of the bosses just murder me in that game. Partially because I guess I'm playing it wrong. But again, it has a high curve in that way.
I don't remember much of the bosses, but I agree that they were annoying. And again, like you said with the battle system, you feel like you want to just swing whenever you can, but you get to like swing and then wait, and then swing and then wait. And I think that's the same with bosses, was because you don't get a lot of feedback, like you said, it's hard to know if you're doing it right or not, and
they don't flash, you don't see the numbers pop up, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So when I'm fighting that first tiger boss in like the caves, I just didn't know whether I was doing anything to him. Mm-hmm. And you know, another thing is when you're trying to do magic, it stops the action. So when you're playing single player, that's not such a problem, because you're switching on and off with the characters that you're using. But when you're playing multiplayer, it becomes a problem, because you're especially if you're the first player and you're trying to swing your sword, and then your friend goes into his menu, stops the action, and then
that's different.
Goes on to try to do a magical attack or something. It just throws off the flow. But if you're doing it all yourself, it's a little bit different. So I think I tried recently to try to play it again, one player. I actually liked it better.
So maybe that's it then.
So I guess I could say that I'm warming up to that game, but it's still not a classic for me, and I don't think it ever will be. But I understand why people like it. I think in an era where not a lot of that type of game was being released, and in an era where there were few Epic Quest games that were really top notch in terms of polish, that was definitely one that can be really meaningful, especially in terms of story and charm and music and just being fun in general in that way. But it still doesn't resonate quite with me, so I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, so let's just say we have time for one more. It's actually back to Saturn Otaku. Now, what he says is this question might be more for me and for Pyro, but Vyse, you've played the game too. He might not have known that, so it's a Danganronpa question.
Okay.
This one, I don't even know if I have an answer for this because I'm not this kind of person. But how would you cast Danganronpa in real life? Now, we don't have to do the... We're not doing the entire cast. He says you don't need to do the entire roster. But are there any particular characters that jump to mind? The only rules would be that they would have to be alive, current, and the same gender as their analog. So you're not going to have like a female Byakuya or something. So like the basic example is like Taylor Swift is the ultimate pop idol. So like, can you think of anything? Because like I was trying to think while Vyse was talking about Secret of Mana. I'm just like, I don't freaking know. Like,
yeah, I agree. I don't feel like I know enough actors.
Yeah, I don't really follow.
And like, I've never seen Taylor Swift act. I wouldn't like pick her as the ultimate pop idol because she's a pop idol. I'd want to pick a actor who can act as a pop idol.
That's the thing. Like, I wasn't even thinking of that. I was just thinking like, who would be, like, who could potentially. I guess it kind of was.
Because like, I guess I'm thinking more of like if they made a Danganronpa movie.
Yeah.
So it'd have to be an actor who can do that.
That's a good point.
So I'm trying to think of like someone who has that personality, has that like job.
Yeah, like I don't know. I don't follow or care about most actors enough to be able to really give a proper answer to this question, I'm afraid. Like I'm trying to think of like a good Hifumi just because it would be funny, but like I don't know.
I guess my thought on it is this. I'm a big fan of movies and visual novels and Danganronpa and all that stuff. I love all of these things. And I think of Danganronpa specifically as a Japanese thing.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It has a lot of underpinnings of anime and Japanese culture in general and how seriously they take school and kind of how their school system is set up. So to me, first of all, I would want it to be a Japanese movie.
Which would be a Japanese cast.
Yeah, which I don't need a Japanese cast, and I don't know any.
Yeah, I'm done.
Actors,
like the only thing I could maybe, and this is a stretch because I don't even know if the person is current because they have to be alive and current. So like I'm done. The closest thing I could think of is that one actress who played Go-Go in Kill Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was actually gonna mention that the closest thing that we have to this is the Battle Royale movie, and she's in that.
That's what I was gonna say. She was like one of the good people in Battle Royale, and she wasn't like a manic psycho as Go-Go, but like I could see her maybe doing Toko.
Well, see, here's part of what I was going to bring up is the issue here, is we need people that are all in high school. Like, I don't know any actors that are high school.
Oh, I'm not even
right
trying
now.
that. To hell with that.
Like, Go-Go is probably in her 30s now, or close
by
to
now,
it.
yeah.
She probably was like 22 or like something like that when she was in Kill Bill, maybe 18 at the youngest.
Yeah, she could pull off like college student.
But there's was that 10 years ago at this point?
It's been a while, yeah.
So to me, this would be a hard question, but I can tell you how I would want it. And I would want, if it were an American production, they would try to make it serious. Mm-hmm. And that would take a lot of the black humor that makes the series so good out of it. Like, the only movie that I know of that would that fits this,
like Clue.
Well, Clue in America, but like I said, Battle Royale, and Battle Royale is probably an inspiration for Danganronpa.
Yeah,
I can't imagine it.
Oh
is.
no, it clearly
sure
there are lots of nods right down to like with each chapter, like chapter 2, X number of students remaining. Like the book just does that. I don't think the movie did that, but the book does that every chapter.
Well, it has like that really funny like thing at the beginning of Battle Royale where they have like this cute girl explaining such a violent thing is happening to them, like, oh, you've been selected for the middle school like slaughter game. Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, but she's so cheery, but she's explaining something that's horrific. I forgot
about that. That was by the way, that was the movie. Like the book was like not even slightly funny ever.
Yeah. So the only other movies that kind of had that vibe, like Starship Troopers, kind of has that vibe too.
Yeah, with the stupid join the army, but like the ridiculous commercials, like the crazy over the top weird stuff happening in the join the army
propaganda.
But their propaganda in the most exaggerated 1940s, we'll beat the bad guys, and it shows them brutalizing the alien bugs. It's okay.
So I don't trust American movie companies to put that kind of black humor into it. I don't think they would be able to do it in a good way.
And I kind of feel like they would take the characters to their extremes more so than they already are in the games. They would...
I could see that. You're the obnoxious rich guy. Be a jerk all the time.
Yeah.
All right.
They would hone in on the wrong personality traits,
and I think they would make it too melodramatic.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing that makes it tough.
And there had to be a love scene.
Yeah, of course. But that's the thing that makes it tough, though, is that they're not going to play the game for inspiration. They'll probably watch the anime, and with the anime, I haven't seen it. But if you only look at the basic story, you don't understand.
The first anime isn't good.
Well, no, but I mean, aside from that, if you only follow the basic story, you're just not the side missions where you build up relationships with the characters. You see that all of them actually have depth that you might never find in a story if you don't bother with that. So the characters are three-dimensional, even Hifumi, and if you made a movie, an American-made movie with Hifumi in it, it's I do not have high hopes for that being a person you take seriously.
Yeah, and don't take me wrong, I don't want our viewers to take me wrong in saying that I don't think that only Japanese things are good. I just think that
America has a general style.
Yeah, America has a general style,
Japan
and they
also
deal
has a
with
general
certain.
Style.
Yeah, and this is a uniquely I can't imagine this another country coming out with this game and me liking it nearly as much because it's
a
representative of Japanese culture in a lot of ways.
There is that, but in addition, you know what would have to happen? It would have to be the difference between 80s and 90s comic book movies and now. Now that we have all the kids who are damn it, you're doing the comics wrong, and now they're the ones making the movies. Give it 20, 30 years, then you'll have a good Danganronpa movie.
Yeah, I think it can happen in time, and
all the people who play the game, it's no, idiot. If you can't do it right, if you want it done right, do it yourself.
I'm gonna throw this out there. So the new Power Rangers movie, for instance, they're missing. They're trying to make the movie look badass, and the Power Rangers were.
And even if the movie ends up being
because of their low budgetness,
and
it's dark,
even if the movie ends up being good, which it very well may, nobody asked for it. It might be a great movie, but this isn't what we wanted with Power. What if it was gritty? It's we don't
No, I want people in spandex jumping around.
Yeah,
and
remember
karate.
how gritty our childhoods were, and that's why I want this. What?
I want practical effects. I want people in awesome looking, but also
kind of
obviously
ridiculous,
wearing ridiculous costumes. I want that. Yeah, exactly. These people are wearing these things and they're elaborate, but you can still tell that they're just a person in a suit. As cool as those suits are, it's not fooling anybody either. So, but that's what you want. But no company in the world, no
would do
American
a high budget, low budget
would
movie.
ever do that. No American company would ever do that. But Japan would do that.
Japan still does that. They have costume fighting all the time. They've been doing it for 50 years, literally.
They just had a new Godzilla movie, for instance. Japan knows what's good about that stuff. But we can never get it right.
That's because we've almost never tried. We tried we've tried more than twice, but we made our own Godzilla movie and we made
twice
Pacific Rim, and
Pacific Rim got it right.
Pacific Rim did
really
get
good.
It right, although it still focused very heavily on a love story and hokey tropes. Although the fights were great, but with the American,
there were hokey tropes to be hokey tropes, if you ask me.
Yes, but they were American hokey tropes where it's like there's a contrived love connection. It's like, oh no, did the hero die at the end? I hope he's alive. Suspense, even though every movie does this in the world.
But Lotus, they're analog.
That was funny. That was funny as hell. The whole theater laughed at that part. But then like America made a Godzilla movie, and Japan's like, look, who are you gonna trust? You guys or like the people who've been making it for decades?
Just to specify,
us.
you're talking about the '98 Godzilla,
98
not the other one, right? The more recent Godzilla movie was actually pretty good.
Oh, that's right, the 2014 one. Yeah, that was better. That was more along the lines of what we were looking for. But like Japan's like, can we just let us? So yeah. So yeah, those are the 3 questions I think we have time for this time. But we have 3 more questions, but that means that that's good for maybe one. If we stretch it 2 weeks with the podcast, we could definitely use some more questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please keep on contributing. Keep asking us questions. And we will continue here and evolving the show. I mean, and I like more and more talking about our weeks in general, and the things that we do in it, because I think we're interesting people, the 3 of us. So
we like to think we are.
Yeah.
you two are. I was watching.
You.
Yeah, I was watching YouTube videos and editing my Let's Play. Like, done.
Yeah, but we went to a cool party. I mean,
that was a fluke.
Also,
how often do I go to parties?
Not every week is going to be interesting either.
Yeah,
exactly. But I think with the amount of things that we can springboard off of and have a good conversation about, it gives everybody a nice look into our lives here. So
yeah.
I want to thank everybody once again. We have some really amazing fans that are very loyal. Please share our posts and keep rating us and keep watching us, and keep giving us questions. We do need the questions. Any amount of ones that we can bank for future episodes will be a great help, so you don't have to sweat it.
Faux show.
And we love it as well. So we're also exploring the possibility of doing a convention too.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for that. We will probably make some announcements.
If anything gets confirmed,
are solidified. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can look forward to that. I think we've done a lot of damage here, and I guess we'll see everybody next week here.
Yep. Until next time, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Catch you later.